and thank you for attending this public hearing. The time is now 6:15 p.m. My name is Dennis Shilling. Seated next to me is Patricia Wright, Deputy Director of Compliance and Enforcement and Property Administration. We are here tonight pursuant to NJSA 54:1-26 to receive public comments on the Division's ongoing investigations in several municipalities, including Jersey City, Elizabeth, and Dunellen, regarding the need to order a revaluation of property. A public hearing was held January 20th in Elizabeth in accordance with the statute. A public hearing will be scheduled in Dunellen in the coming weeks, followed by additional investigations in other municipalities. The reason these investigations were commenced is because our preliminary review of data has revealed that these three municipalities, along with several others throughout the state, may be in need of a revaluation of property. For instance, Jersey City has not had a property revaluation in 27 years, Elizabeth in 39 years, and Dunellen has not had a revaluation in 33 years. We are here tonight as part of our ongoing investigation to hear about your experiences in paying property taxes in Jersey City and your thoughts on this issue. However, as a matter of policy, the Division does not comment on ongoing investigations. Therefore, we will be unable to answer any questions tonight relative to the investigation. The New Jersey Constitution of 1947 contains what is known as a uniformity clause that requires all property taxes to be assessed uniformly statewide. After reviewing all the testimony that you provide this evening and relevant data, the Division will make a determination as to whether this municipality is in compliance with state law. That determination will be announced at a later time. Once again, we will not make any further public statements until our investigation is completed. Besides testifying, you may also submit written comments to the Division at, and I'll spell this out, I'll say it first and then spell it, propreval@tres.nj.gov, and that is spelled PROPREVAL@TREAS.nj.gov, or to the following address: New Jersey Division of Taxation, attention Property Administration, 50 Barrack Street, P.O. Box 240, Trenton, New Jersey 08695. Every citizen has a right to be heard. Therefore, in order to ensure we hear from as many citizens as possible, we ask that you limit your public comments to no more than 2 minutes. Quite frankly, there's not that many speakers. I'm not going to be that strict with the 2 minutes, but I do ask you not to take much more time than that. If you are going a little too long, I'll ask you to conclude your remarks. When arriving at the microphone, we're going to ask everybody to come up to this microphone so you can be heard. Please state your name and address. Please remember that written submissions of any length will be reviewed and considered by the Division. Not sure if anybody else can.
Yeah, speaking to the mic.
Okay. So my husband and I have lived in Jersey City in our home since 2012. We live in a 4-bed, 2.5-bath row house, just like every other 4-bed, 2.5-bath row house in the Van Horst Park area. We pay over $19,000 a year in tax. At one point, Jersey City tried to raise our taxes overnight to over $24,000 a year because of a certificate of occupancy that they found from a prior owner's repair work. We have done everything that we can in terms of trying to reduce our tax obligation. All we've been told is the only way to reduce it is to have a reval, because our property has just been assessed more recently than everybody else in the neighborhood. Our neighbors that have pretty much identical property to us pay anywhere from 10,000 less than we do in tax every year, plus or minus. Everybody pays, call it 8,000 to 13,000 a year in tax, a little bit more, a little bit less. There was a $2 million mansion that sold pretty much across the block on the other side of the park. 9 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. They pay over $1,000 less in tax than we do. When I think about what I know about the Reval, if it's true that legally the total tax revenue pie cannot increase, then mathematically everybody's taxes can't increase by $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. Mathematically, the pie stays the same, and it's just redistributed so that everyone in a certain catchment area whose homes are worth pretty much the same amount pay the same amount in tax. We all have access to the same public services. We all have access to what we get as a benefit for Jersey City tax. But today, homeowners like me and my husband pay drastically more to subsidize those benefits for others with very similar living arrangements who pay much less. So again, if those facts are correct, if the overall tax revenue legally cannot increase, and we're merely talking about redistributing the tax burden so that everybody pays their fair share, we strongly encourage the city, the county, and the state to enforce that fair distribution. Thank you.
Evening, I'm Anthony Sandkamp. I live at 91 Bright Street in the Van Voorst Park District, downtown. So my concern is, as was already stated by quite a few speakers, is the portion of the city that's...
Of the city what?
Is the portion of the units in the city that are given a tax abatement. Approximately 20% of the units right now are tax abated. And so what's going to end up happening is after the reval, those are essentially, we're going to be essentially subsidizing these, what are primarily luxury units. And the rest of the community downtown is going to be paying multiple times the taxes they are right now. What's also going to happen is, within very short order, the property values downtown are going to adjust because of the incredible increase in property taxes. So it's almost like we should probably do an additional reval the following year, because if you're selling a house and the property taxes are $10,000 and it's at $1 million house, and all suddenly you're selling $1 million house and the property taxes are $40,000, you're not going to get the same amount of money for it. So it's almost like, yeah, you might as well schedule 2 revals, and the second one is a reval to correct the first reval.
Ali Cibolina, I'm a resident of Jersey City. I live in Hamilton Park area. I just want to say that there is a gross misconception among public about what reval really means. Most people, when they hear reval, they automatically assume tax increase. I wish there were more education given to public about the process of reval and what it entails. I actually dug very deep into that. I met with the chief tax assessor of Jersey City, Mr. Ed Tolosa, who explained to me that a reval is a zero-sum game. If somebody's taxes are going up by $1,000, give or take, somebody else has to experience a decrease. So what he told me, that in a typical reval, people who paying middle of the road taxes are not going to see much of a difference. People who've been paying low taxes, those who bought properties 30, 40, 50 years ago, they will see an increase. People who bought properties recently and have been paying much higher taxes, they will see a decrease. So in fact, for 2/3 of population, it's a beneficial or neutral process.
My name is Maria Scariati. I was downtown until 2007, and then I came up to what's called the Hill. And for the most part, I think that everybody that's spoken before me pretty much has a pretty good understanding of what's going on, but none of them seem to be very complete in the presentation. To me, the primary purpose of any reevaluation program is to provide equalization among all property owners as well as among all classes of property. The program is not intended to increase revenue, but to ensure that each property owner pay only his fair share of the cost of services rendered by the local government. To produce equity among our taxpayers and equalize the tax burden in Jersey City, I think that your commission really must address the extreme abuse of redevelopment overlay plans and property tax abatements employed by our municipal officials. Privately brokered long-term tax abatements are handed out by developers year after year after year after year, like Santa Claus gives away candy canes at Christmas time. Redevelopment overlay plans are the tool of choice by our municipal officials, and their staff can and do circumvent our precious zoning regulations to accommodate their developer friends, leaving the unabated homeowner and property owner to subsidize on average 35% shortfall in tax revenue and to shoulder the increased spending required to service the new vertical city and its increased density, most of which are abated luxury condos, to be quite frank. And it has to do with things like, currently our fire department can service a certain height requirement. We're going to require all new equipment to be able to service these towers that are coming up. The infrastructure isn't really working well for its current density, and they're adding tens of thousands of people into this. And that's going to result in a cost increase and a budget that's runaway, which is going to add a lot more to the taxes in addition to just merely adjusting the pie of the size that we have now. The pie is going to become like this.
Jeremiah Healy, I live at 109 Ferry Street, up in the Heights, General Square section of Jersey City. And I want to just make some things clear. I've heard about abatements, and once again, they've been demonized, and they continue to be demonized. What all taxpayers, which I, of course, am one, should know is that abated properties they pay, it's not like they pay no tax. They pay something called a pilot payment, a payment in lieu of taxes. This city gets approximately, it's probably more now, $100 million into the city coffers every year from those abatements. That's $100 million that I, as a taxpayer, and everybody else in this room as a taxpayer, do not have to kick into the city coffers. As a result, they do benefit the city in some ways. Further, everybody's talking to the reval. It hasn't been done, I think, 27 years. It has to be done. And probably the best example was the young lady, Miss Sperling, who came up here and told everyone of her situation. There's a lot of that going on. And the purpose of the reval is just to realistically assess all the properties in Jersey City, so that, as the young lady said, the guy next door with the same property is paying $10,000 a year, and she's paying $19,000 a year. Well, that's not right. That's why we're doing the reval. And over the course of the years, as the years go by, that unequalization just multiplies. So it's got to be done. And when it is done, the typical, it's 1/3 stay the same, 1/3 go up taxes, and 1/3 go down. That's the history of revals. That's what's going to happen.
My name is Daniel Sicardi, and I live at 91 Kensington Avenue in Jersey City, and I've lived here for about 30 years. And I don't have anything prepared, but I can't think of anybody that I would like to speak after. Now, Jeremiah Healy, you could sort of vouch for the fact that everything that I'm going to say to you, I hope is completely under oath. The reval company that was doing the reval before Jersey City decided to indulge themselves and get involved in a litigation, processed close to 50%. They actually did more, but I'm not going to want anybody to be holding me to that 50% that they did. So I got the results of that from the company itself, okay? So my property, literally, I'm paying X bucks now, and my property taxes were going to go down $400. So I should be a real happy camper. Now, I've lived in Jersey City for 30 years, and during the course of the 30 years that I've lived here, my house was burglarized, and my house to begin with was pretty crummy, and I fixed it all up. But that's on me. I'm very happy living in Jersey City. I think a reval is a good idea, but because I feel that you're going to indulge me in my lack of synonyms, antonyms, and descriptive language, I'm going to say that we're getting screwed by abatements. The pilot program is a bunch of crap. And what's more is our municipality makes it very difficult for us to exactly understand how the abatement process works.
All right, yeah, Bill Matsikoudis, and by way of background and to be upfront with you, I also worked for the city when he was mayor. They mentioned that.
Your address, too, please.
225 Grand Street, Jersey City, and so I was the city attorney for 9 years, and during that time the city had promulgated plans and began the process of a reval. And I'm going to echo what I think I heard from a few people here tonight, but and give you maybe a couple of ideas and tell you why I think a reval is so important. I'm not an expert on property tax revaluations. I dealt with some people who were experts. I dealt with people on my staff who fought against tax appeals or settled basically every single time. As Mayor Healy mentioned, to me, one of the most persuasive reasons why we need a tax appeal is that, a reval is that basically every single tax appeal that's been levied against the city, we have no defense because our ratio is so out of whack. And guess who's filing the lion's share of these tax appeals? Certainly the most valuable ones. It's not Mr. and Mrs. Jones, in Greenville or the Heights, or even people in the so-called Gold Coast with the beautiful brownstones downtown. It's mainly the commercial properties, right? And it's way out of whack what people or corporations, whether they be Tropicana Daily News or big high-rise office towers, are paying with regard to individuals. So, look, the other thing is the amount of money that the city has spent, and it's even a lot more right now, on outside counsel to defend tax appeals. That alone will save the city money. And we're just leaving a lot of revenue on the table. I think you stated at the outset you could look at the League of Municipality website to get a basic understanding of what a reval is supposed to do. Some people said it eloquently here tonight. It's to tax all property fairly on what its real market value is, right? And when you have a ratio that applies to all those properties, if it's their real market value, you're going to have equity. And right now, it's completely out of whack because we don't know what property is being taxed too low and what property is being taxed too high. I will say this, there's a lot of people who live in Jersey City who no fault through no fault of their own, may be paying a property tax amount that is not reflective of the value of their house, and they may stand to be hit with a large tax increase. I don't think that is something that is right. I know that in the past what has occurred is, and I believe it occurred in Newark, where there was an easing in, where there was a high tax increase. Hopefully no one will have too high of one.
You can state your name.
Brigid D'Souza.
Address, please.
I'm sorry?
Address, please.
311 Washington Street. I've heard a lot of great comments here tonight. I'm absolutely for the revaluation. Just to give a little background about myself, I have 2 small kids, so I look at this not only in terms of homeownership here in Jersey City, but also how property taxes and pilots intersect with the school system, how our school funding is impacted. There is a lot of complex moving parts in all of this, and I think, if anything, the word of the day is transparency going forward. If I understand it correctly, Jersey City has been out of compliance since 2000, because that's when, it was in 1999 that the equalization ratio was last above 85. I don't know if you can, I realize you're not taking comments or anything like that, but that's my understanding, which says that this is a systemic process-intensive issue. This, I'm a little bit cynical hearing people who have been in the administration prior, with all due respect, in terms of justifying the way certain things were done. I'm sort of fed up as a parent with sort of the rhetoric around property taxes and pilots and why they're good, why they're bad. At the end of the day, this is a complex financial issue. You know, for anyone to say, first of all, I don't even understand why the current mayor is even debating the merits of a reval.
My name is Roger Heitmann. I live at 242 Ogden Avenue in the Jersey City Heights. I'm a recently retired senior citizen living on Social Security and a modest pension and investment income after working for 42 years in Manhattan. I consider myself lucky because I have a private pension plan, so rare in today's standards. From what I hear through long-term homeowners is that they're in for a real surprise once the inevitable reval is completed. I've been a homeowner in the Jersey City Heights since 1992, and the last reval was done in 1988, as you know. This means that I will probably be in for a significant tax increase. If I'm unable to afford the increase, I will appeal the assessment, and if I lose the appeal, I might have to move out of the state. I'm willing to pay my fair share, but in reality, that is not going to be the case. I seem to recall some residents complaining that their tax bills had almost doubled after the last reval in 1988. With the fast and furious increases in property values in Jersey City, the ratio to assessed value is now way out of balance, and it might be even worse for residents this time. Everyone that owns property knows that New Jersey has the highest taxes of any state. This state is not considered retiree-friendly for this reason.
Okay, my name is Lorzeno Richardson. My address is 66 Danforth Avenue, Jersey City. And I also have to state for the record that I am a school board member, but I'm speaking on my own behalf, so I'm not speaking on behalf of the board or any individual board member. The first thing that I want to mention is that being a more than 45-year resident of this city all my life, it has struck me that we have a tale of two cities where we have one part of the city paying for another part of the city. So all the things that you see that are being promoted are being paid for by the taxpayers who are struggling. The Greenville residents and others around the city are literally subsidizing luxury housing when you look at it. Another point is that I'd like to make is that can the mayor be put in jail for holding up the reval because he needs to be. He's robbing taxpayers to benefit others, essentially, in this case. When you charge other people taxes consistently, and it goes up every year, and someone else's taxes does not go up, and they have the ability to pay, and there's no reason for them to have to pay less, other than that it's an attraction to the property, even though they have amenities and other things that are attached to it that we still pay for because our tax dollars pay for that, and all the tax credits that come from the state. That is essentially robbing the regular taxpayer. Please do something about allowing luxury housing to be funded by taxpayer dollars when it does not benefit the local taxpayers at all. All the retail and businesses are also being developed to cater specifically to the luxury developments and not the local taxpayers. The longer you delay the reval, the more you subject the taxpayers to inequitable burden for the cost of municipal, school, and county services. Because no matter what happens, those taxes still go up.
I will be the first one to say that I'm really afraid of this reval and what it's going to mean to our home and our family. However, I also know that it's the law. And unless the state is going to change the law, it's inevitable. The economy since 2008 has done a lot better. So if there's any time to do it, now would be probably a good time to do it, where some of us would be able to maybe sustain higher property taxes if that should happen to us. But more importantly, I do believe that that it is a very unfair way of taxing people currently, that there are people who would benefit from this. There are people that are paying less taxes than they should be. And my concern is, once this reval goes through, and I believe that it will, is how are we going to help people through this, to work through this when they're hit with a tax bill that they can't afford and possibly lose their homes. It's been, I think, 25 or 30 years, if not more, since we've had the last reval in Jersey City. And I think in today's times with the technology that we have, it should all be computerized so that we could do revals on a timely basis, so that people like us are not screwed. Because that's how I feel. My morals tell me that this is what we need to do. The law tells me that. Yet, I'm afraid that, what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my neighbors, what's going to happen to my friends.
My name is Yvonne Walser. I remember the 1988 reval. It was devastating to me because my taxes went from $3,000 to $16,000 overnight. The last time reval happened was in 1960, 28 years earlier. Now we're repeating the same scenario. 28 years has passed and another reval is looming. During the 1988 reval, Jersey City went from $800 million assessment to about $6.5 billion. 28 years later, our rateable base is under $6 billion because too much of Jersey City tax base is under a tax abatement. So Jersey City is worth less on paper than it is in 1988. But I also see the other side. Our mayor, as well as previous mayor, has given out tax abatements which are not ratables and will be exempt from any revaluation. Nearly 1/3 of Jersey City is now under some sort of tax abatement. Those abatements bring in children, but as you know, tax abatements do not pay Board of Ed taxes. It is not fair for regular homeowners to subsidize any development when a revaluation occurs. Yes, the city must do a revaluation, and the state must force the city to do it every 5 years to stop the long periods. Yesterday, I taped a town hall meeting that the mayor had in Ward E, which is downtown. A question was raised about stopping the revaluation, and the mayor said the people who bring up the subject are, quotes, are doing this because of their hatred for me, end quotes. Presently, I live in a condo and pay more money than the mayor pays on his one-family house. We must remove the politics from any evaluation, and I repeat, the state must force Jersey City to do a revaluation every 5 years. Thank you.